So yes, I'm Alexandra Spalato. I'm French. This is a French song that was playing. And I'm a developer relation engineer at Storyblock. I'm super excited to be here today. Again in Salt Lake, I was here for the Remix Conf. So it seems that Salt Lake love Remix. I don't know why, because today I'm going to talk about how Remix is embracing web standards to redefine modern web development. So first, let's dive into the evolution of web development. So web development is all about transforming data into HTML and delivering it to the browser for rendering. But let's take a trip down memory lane. Remember when all was about server-side rendering? You make a request to the browser, to the server, the page will be rendered using a templating language and then sent back to the browser. JavaScript was like the cherry on top, just used sparingly to have a dash of interactivity. But then, like a plot twist in a movie, JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, Svelte, Vue, and meta frameworks like Next, Gatsby, and more came into the scene. And with them, the concept of universal JavaScript was born. This is like the superhero version of JavaScript. It can run on the browser and on the server. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, the challenges we face in modern web development. Scalability. Our app always use more user, more data, more complexity without crashing. New frameworks are popping up every week. It's like a fashion trend. So keeping up with the latest and the greatest can be exhausting and time-consuming. Performance. Nobody likes a slow website. Browser compatibility. Our apps need to work seamlessly across all browsers. UI and UX. It's all about our users. Developer experience is about us developers. We want our apps to be powerful, but also to be intuitive and enjoyable to use. Security. We need to keep our users' data secure. Okay, I'm not here to talk only about problems. I'm here to talk about solutions, and this is where Remix comes in. So what's Remix all about? And first, who is using Remix here? Okay, and who don't know Remix at all? Okay, so Remix, so imagine if a server-rendered framework and React had a baby. This is Remix. It has the scalability of a chameleon. It can handle complex applications, but it can also scale down to the point where you don't even need JavaScript on the page. And the best part is built on web standards. So this is like speaking the browser's native language. It has a server-client model, so you can filter the data from the server and only deliver the data that is needed by your users, and this will improve your scalability and performance. It's built on web standards, so it's like having a universal adapter, and your app can work seamlessly across all browsers. JavaScript, it's used for user experience. It's like the icing on the cake. It enhances the user experience, but the app still works great without it. It avoids over-abstraction. Learning a new framework sometimes can be like learning a new language and realize it's spoken only on a tiny island. With Remix, you're learning the language of the web. So while you're becoming better at Remix, you're actually becoming a better web developer. Also, by sticking to web standards and best practice, it helps to keep things secure. So let's dive into how Remix streamline our development process with web standards. First off, Remix loves URLs. URLs are the backbone of the web, the address of every little piece of content of the internet. Remix embraces this and uses URL for data loading and routing. Next up, we have the Fetch API. This is your tool for data handling. And let's talk about HTML. It's the language of the web. It's been there since the dawn of internet. Remix uses HTML to its full potential. And last but not least, we have HTTP caching. By leveraging the browser's built-in caching mechanisms, Remix can drastically improve the performance of your web application. Okay, so let's talk about URLs. In Remix, they're kind of a big deal. They're not just addresses, they're the backbone of your web architecture. Imagine a URL as a path, and each segment of this path corresponds to a nested layout in your UI. In Remix, you can collocate your UI and data handling code in the same file. We are talking about full-stack components. Remix also optimizes your client-side navigation. It knows which layouts will persist between two URLs. So it only fetches the data for the ones that are changing. And on top of it, Remix can prefetch all resources for a page when the user is about to click a link. So next time you look at a URL, remember, in Remix is not just an address. It's a powerful tool that shapes your web architecture, optimizes your navigation, and streamlines your development process. So now let's dive into the Fetch API. It's like your personal postman, delivering data from the web to your app. It manages requests and responses objects, your outgoing and incoming data messages. And we also have headers, which are similar to the address on an envelope. They carry additional information about the request or response, like the destination or the type of data being sent. The fetch method takes your request, delivers your response, and can be called from anywhere in your application. Loaders in Remix are functions that fetch data from the server for your components. There's the backbone of your app's data flow. And Remix adds requests, response, headers, and fetch to your loader's global context. This means you can use them anywhere in your app, just like you would in the browser. And lastly, we have helper methods like JSON or redirects that streamlines working with the Fetch API. So with the Fetch API, handling data is as easy as sending a letter. So now let's dive into data rights or mutation in Remix. The magic here is based on two web stuff: HTML forms and HTTP. Again, Remix is taking us to the basics, but with a modern twist. When we talk about creating, deleting, or updating data, we're really talking about form submissions. And it's not just for your big complex form like the user profile page. Even the little like buttons are forms in disguise. The Remix form component adds some special feature to the usual HTML form. After a form submission, all the loaders on the page automatically refresh. It means that your user will always have the most up-to-date information without having to refresh the page. And with a form where your page doesn't reload after a form submission, so it provides a smoother user experience. And then we can use hooks, like use navigation, that give us access to the pending form states, and so we can build a user experience as smooth as butter. Think about loading indicators and optimistic UI and all this good stuff. So in Remix, the action functions look after form submissions, while the loader functions take care of getting data. HTTP caching is a powerful tool that can really improve the performance of your web application. It's like giving a memory to your app. Instead of constantly asking the server for data, your app can remember some of it, reducing the load on your server and speeding up responses time for your users. In Remix, HTTP caching is used to its full potential. But what about updates? HTTP caching in Remix is smart. It knows when to update the data. And this is where cache control comes in. You can define cache control headers right in your root modules. For example, you can set max age 300 to tell the browser to keep the cached data for 300 seconds. So with HTTP caching, your app becomes faster, your server gets less stressed, and your user stays happy. It's a win-win-win situation. So in this example, the header function is exporting an object with a cache control property. The value of this property is a string that tells the browser how to cache a response. The max age directive specifies the maximum amount of time in seconds that the fetched response is allowed to be cached. In this case, it's set to 300 seconds or 5 minutes. So this code is essentially telling the browser, hey, you can store this response and use it for up to 5 minutes without checking back with the server. And you can find many other directives just by going to MDN docs because, again, this is a web standard. Okay, so now we are going to dive into code into an example, and I need some water. So I don't know about you, but for me, building a global search has always been super tedious. You need to store the value from the form into the state and then into the context and blah, 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 and more things. And when I learned Remix, I discovered that it was simple. And I was so amazed that I write a tutorial about it. So if you have the repo, you can get it from the QR code. And now we are going to explore this little website I have built for this occasion. Okay. Okay, so this is a simple blog with 2 pages, some posts, and the posts have a headline, an image, and the text. And here we have a search form. It opens a modal, and I can type my query here, enter, and it redirects to a search results route, and it passes my query to the URL, and then it displays the results by page and by post. So, okay, very simple. Let's dive now into the code. So we have here a search form, and this form is placed into a model which is built with headless UI, and we have an overlay to make this experience better that displays the searching word when the form is processing, and we are controlling this overlay with a state open overlay and set open overlay. All that is placed in the header, and then we have a search result route that will get the query from the URL and filter and display the results. Okay, let's dive to see how it works. So the search form is built with the search component, and here we can read that it behaves like a normal form except that the interaction with the server is with fetch instead of new document request, and that's why our page is not reloading. Okay, it behaves like a normal form, so who still knows how a normal HTML form works? Okay, not a lot of people, and not me. I learned it now, but I didn't know it. So what it does, the form has this action, and then we can define where the URL where the form will be processed. So here will be processed in the search results. And then by default, the form has a get method, and it will append our values, our query, to the URL defined in our action, to the search result. So it passes this query to our URL. But a few days ago, you know what I was doing? I was adding a post method, and this post method, I was needing an action that I was doing in my root file, and in this action, I was getting the query from the form data, and then I was redirecting to the search result and passing the query to the URL. So basically, I was doing manually what the form does by itself. And with React, we love to overcomplicate things, and we have to unlearn that. So that was a great lesson. Even if I want to do things simpler, I continue making them more complicated. Okay, then we have this overlay, and we control it with this open overlay state. And here we have the use navigation hook. So we initiate it here with navigation, use navigation, and then in use effect, we want to open the overlay when the navigation state is idle. So our form is searching, and then we want to close it, and we also want to close our model when the navigation state is loading. So let's see how it works on the website. So here I'm going to use a slow network, a slow 3G. So when I open my form, I see my navigation state is idle. So it's not searching for the moment, and I type my query, I hit enter, and okay, it's searching because it's loading. Okay, I have a bug here because it's displaying my result, but my overlay is not closing. I'm sorry, so it continues searching. It seems that it's not going to the idle state. Okay, I'm playing. This is a stone that I had in my shoes for a few days because I was doing it this way. I made it work in another way, in another place in the state. And fortunately, yesterday I stumbled upon Ryan Florence that solved my problem. And it seems that I was complicating things because of what he calls the React instinct. So let's see what is the right way for doing it. So here I go to the other branch, which is the right one. And as you can see in my form, I don't have use navigation or anything. And here, okay, I initiate my use navigation here, and I don't need to have a state. With React, we want to have states everywhere. And so I put this open overlay in the state when we don't need it, because we have this use navigation state. And so I create simply variable is searching when the navigation state is not idle and the navigation location path name is search result. It means that my form is processing, is searching, so I want to open my overlay and display the searching word. And then in use effect, when it's not searching, I want to close my, my model. And that's it. And it works, and it's much more simple. So we have to learn to overcomplicate things with React and to want to put everything in the state. Okay, so now everything is working. We are in the search result route, and we have our query in the URL. So we need to get the query for the URL. So for that, we are going to use the URL constructors that will define an object which represents the URL defined by the parameters. And we have a search param property and a get method, so we get our query from the URL. Then we are going to use the get storyblock API from storyblock. So in the back office, I'm using storyblock CMS, my favorite headless CMS. And we want to search the blogs and posts that contains our queries. So the page is, yes, I forget to show that. So this is the back office. We have the page, and the page have a body field, while the posts have a headline field, an image, and the text. So we want to search all the pages and posts that contains the query inside the body for the page or inside the headline or text for our post. So here, with the get storyblock API, we are going to get all the stories. This is in the loader, so this happened on the server. And we need to have a filter query parameter. And we are going to use the like operation and search in the body for the page, in the headline, and in the text. The query, we put an asterisk before and after because we want to find all the pages and posts that contain our query. And by default, it uses the AND operation, but here we want an OR, so we add the -- or keyword. And then it will return all the filtered stories. Then in our component, we are going to load the stories from the server. For that, we are going to use loader data. and then we just have to filter them by page or by post and to display them. And voila, that's all. So let's back to my slides. And so to wrap up, we've seen how using web standards in Remix makes something that is tedious for most of people, well, almost for me, a breeze. But it's not just about making our lives as developers easier, but also to deliver a top-notch user experience. So with server-side filtering, HTTP caching, and all this good stuff, we are making our app faster and more efficient. JavaScript is here to enhance the user experience, not to be overused. And by the way, this form would work without JavaScript. But I have this model Windows that needs JavaScript, but this is user experience. So the best part, we're doing all this while sticking to web standards, ensuring our app is robust and future-proof. So it's a win-win situation for both developers and users. So I hope you like this talk, and if you have questions, you can find me outside, and here you can also download these slides. Thank you.